Joe Biden has a plan to create 10 million good, clean energy jobs right here in America. It's part of his plan to protect Florida from climate change and secure environmental justice. And he's going to pay for it by rolling back those tax cuts to billionaires. And the thing is, Joe doesn't just want to get back to where we were. He finally wants to make some long overdue changes so that our economy actually makes life a little easier for everybody. The waitress trying to raise a kid on her own. The student trying to figure out how to pay for next semester's classes. The shift worker who's worried about maybe being laid off. The cancer survivor who's worried that her pre-existing conditions might prevent her from being able to get coverage. And speaking of health care, by the way, you may have noticed Republicans love saying right before an election how they're going to protect people who have pre-existing conditions. Have you noticed that? Well, you know what? Joe and I actually protected them 10 years ago with the Affordable Care Act. And you know, those same Republicans who say they're going to protect them, somehow they have tried to repeal or undermine the Affordable Care Act more than 60 times. And each time they try to repeal it, they say, oh, we've got a great replacement. It's coming. Everybody's a little young here, but you guys remember Popeye? And remember that guy who always needed to borrow some money for a hamburger? He said, don't worry, I'm going to be paying you back sometime soon. That's like Republicans with health care. They always say it's coming soon. We're going to be paying you back with a great replacement plan. But that 2 weeks has been 10 years coming now. For the last 10 years, every 2 weeks, they say we're going to have a great health care plan. You know where it is? Because I don't. The reason they don't have a plan is because a plan doesn't exist. They've never had one. They've instead attacked the Affordable Care Act at every turn, driving up costs, driving up the uninsured. Now they're trying to get the Supreme Court to take away your health care right now as quickly as they can in the middle of a pandemic with nothing but empty promises to take its place. Think about what that would do to families right here in Florida. Florida has the highest enrollment under the Affordable Care Act of any state in America. Last week, Trump flat out said he hopes the Supreme Court takes your health insurance away. Said it out loud. Don't boo. Vote. And last night, he installed the Supreme Court justice who he hopes will help him do it. Don't boo. Vote. Florida, this is serious. And Joe and Kamala will protect your health care. They will expand Medicare. They'll make insurance more affordable for everybody. Because Joe knows that a president's first job is to keep us safe from all threats, foreign, domestic, and microscopic. When the daily intelligence briefings flash warning lights about a virus, the president can't ignore it, can't be too lazy to read the briefing. When Russia puts bounties on the heads of our soldiers in Afghanistan, the commander-in-chief can't be MIA, missing in action. Joe Biden would never call the men and women of our military suckers or losers because they're willing to sacrifice their lives on behalf of the American people. Joe Biden understands those troops are somebody's kids, somebody's dad, somebody's mom, somebody's husband, somebody's wife, somebody's father or mother. And Joe Biden understands that there is glory and goodness in being willing to sacrifice on behalf of others, something that apparently this administration just doesn't comprehend. Our current president, he whines that 60 Minutes is too tough. You think he's going to stand up to dictators? He thinks Leslie Stahl's a bully. Just yesterday, he said that Putin of Russia, Xi of China, and Kim Jong-un of North Korea want him to win. We know. We know because you've been giving them whatever you want for the last 4 years. Of course they want you to win. That's not a good thing. You shouldn't brag about the fact that some of our greatest adversaries think they'd be better off with you in office. Of course they do. What does that say about you? I mean, think about that. Why are you bragging about that? Come on. And that doesn't make any sense. Joe Biden wouldn't coddle dictators. He'll promote human rights around the world, including in Cuba. Joe will restore our battered standing around the world because he knows our true strength comes from setting an example that the world wants to follow. A nation that stands with democracy, not dictators. A nation that can inspire and mobilize others to overcome threats like climate change and terrorism and poverty and disease. And here's one other thing. Joe and Kamala, when they are in office, they're not going to have, you're not going to have to think about them every single day. You're not going to have to worry about what crazy things they're going to say, what they're going to tweet. They're just going to be too busy doing the work. It just won't be so exhausting. You'll be able to go about your lives knowing that the president's not going to retweet conspiracy theories about secret cabals running the world or suggest, I mean, listen, our president of the United States retweeted a post that claimed that the Navy SEALs didn't actually kill bin Laden. Think about that. And we act like, well, okay. It's not okay. We're not going to have a president, when Joe Biden's in office, that goes out of his way to insult people just because they don't support him. He'll be a president for all people, including people who didn't vote for him, because he knows that's the job of being president. I mean, we've gotten so numb to what is bizarre behavior. We have a president right now who lies multiple times a day. And this is not my claim. Even Fox News sometimes says, well, what he says isn't really true. He didn't mean it. It's not normal behavior. We wouldn't tolerate it from a coworker. We wouldn't tolerate it from a football coach. We wouldn't tolerate it from a high school principal. I mean, we might have to put up with it if it was a family member, but we talk about him afterwards. Even Florida man wouldn't be doing some of this stuff. Why would we accept it from President of the United States? And you know what? I mean, sometimes it's almost too easy to make fun of it, but it's serious. There are consequences to his actions. If he was just on Jerry Springer or something, you'd say, well, but this is the most powerful office on earth. And when people see the president doing things like that, it emboldens other people to be mean and cruel and divisive and racist. And it frays the fabric of our lives. It affects the way our children see things. When we tell our children to tell the truth, and then we have the person in the highest office in the land who doesn't seem capable of doing so, that undermines our society. It affects the way our families get along. It affects the way the world looks at America. And it distracts from the truly destructive actions that his cronies are doing all across the government as we speak, actions that affect your lives. You've got the Environmental Protection Agency that's supposed to protect our air and our water. It's run by an energy lobbyist that gives polluters free rein to dump unlimited poison into our air and our water. It's not right. It ain't right. The Labor Department, that's supposed to protect workers. It's run by a corporate lobbyist who's declared war on workers. It's trying to gut protections to keep essential folks safe during a pandemic, making it easier for big corporations to steal their wages. The Interior Department, that's supposed to protect our public lands, our wilderness, the Everglades, it's run by an oil lobbyist who's just fine with selling them to the highest bidder. You've got an Education Department run by a billionaire who has gutted rules designed to protect students from getting ripped off by for-profit colleges, and that is stiff-arming students looking for loan relief in the middle of an economic collapse. You've got the person who runs Medicaid trying not to get more people onto Medicaid so they've got better health care, but to kick more people off of Medicaid. Come on. It ain't right. So what are you going to do about it? You got to vote. You've got to vote. When Joe and Kamala are in charge, they're not going to surround themselves with hacks and lobbyists. They're going to surround themselves with qualified public servants who actually are serious about doing their job, who are looking out for you, for your job, your family, your health, your communities, your planet. And that, more than anything, is what separates them from their opponents. They actually care about you. They actually care about every American. And they're going to be fighting on your behalf every single day. They're not going to get everything right every time. They're not going to solve every problem right away, but they're going to be working on it every single day to see how can I make sure this little brand new baby right here is inheriting a better world. That's what they care about. I will say that I miss kissing babies during the pandemic. I can't do it, but look at that little bundle right there. Brand new. It's got the new baby smell. Congratulations. But Joe and Kamala, they care deeply about people and they care about our democracy. They believe that in a democracy, the right to vote is sacred. We shouldn't be making people wait in line for hours. We should be making it easier for everybody to vote, not harder. They believe that no one, especially the president, is above the law. They understand the protest isn't un-American. This country was founded on protesting against injustice. And we don't threaten to throw our political opponents in jail just because we disagree with them. That's what happens in dictatorships. It doesn't happen in the United States of America. Joe and Kamala understand that our ability to work together to solve big problems like the pandemic depends on more than just photo ops. It depends on applying facts and logic and science and not making things up, not flooding the internet with misinformation. These should not be Republican or Democratic values. They're what we grew up learning from our parents and our grandparents. They're not white or black or Hispanic or Asian or Native American values. They're supposed to be American values. And we have to reclaim them right now. And how are we going to do that? By voting. We've got to turn out like never before, Orlando. We have to leave no doubt. We can't be complacent. We were complacent last time. Folks got a little lazy. Folks took things for granted. And look what happened. Not this time. Not in this election. I understand there's some Americans who get frustrated by government. They feel like, oh, it doesn't make enough a difference. My vote won't make a difference. Listen, the government's not perfect. It's not going to solve every problem. But a good government can make things better. Things were better when I left office than when I started. They weren't perfect, but they were better. A president shouldn't make things worse. A president by himself can't solve every challenge facing our economy, but if we elect a president who cares, and we elect a House and a Senate and a State House and a State Senate that are focused on working people and getting you the help you need, it can make a difference. A president by himself can't eliminate all racial bias in our criminal justice system, but if we elect district attorneys and state's attorneys and sheriffs and police chiefs focused on equality and justice, it can make things better. And that's what voting's about. Not making things perfect, but making them better. It's about putting us on track so that a generation from now we can look back and say, hey, things started getting better. It's about using the power we have and pooling it together to make sure that we have a government that's more concerned, more responsive, more focused on you. And you know what? When I hear people say, well, I don't know, I voted last time and things didn't change as much as I thought. Listen, we've never come close to seeing what it would be like if everybody voted. In 2008, that was the highest voting rate in modern presidential history. You know what? We only got to 61%. That means 39% of the folks didn't vote who were eligible to vote. What would happen if suddenly we started getting 70% voting rates? What would happen if we got 60, 70% of the people voting instead of 55% of people voting? The country would be transformed. Imagine January 20th, and we swear in a president and a vice president who have a plan to deal with this pandemic effectively, who believe in science, who have a plan to protect this planet for our children, who care about working Americans, who have a plan to help you start getting ahead, who believe in racial equality, who are willing to do the work to bring us closer to the ideal that no matter what you look like, where you come from, who you love, how much money you got, you can make it here in America. You'll be treated with respect and dignity and justice here in America. Imagine a president when Puerto Rico gets hit by a hurricane, doesn't respond just by throwing paper towels, but says those are Americans, and we've got to make sure that we get in the help they need as quickly as possible. That's what you should expect from a president, and if you're not getting that, then you have to go out there and vote to make it happen. All of that is possible. All of that is within our reach. For all the times these past 4 years when we've seen our worst impulses revealed, the good news is we've also seen our best impulses revealed. We've seen folks of every age and background pack city centers and town squares so that families wouldn't be separated. I've got a friend, Jose Andres, great restaurateur, took it upon himself, went down to Puerto Rico after the hurricane, organized thousands of meals just on his own because he was seeing that the response wasn't quick enough. Just did it on his own. That is America. We saw people out on the streets saying we're not going to have our classrooms shut up anymore. We've seen people activated to make sure our kids don't grow up on an uninhabitable planet. We've seen healthcare workers, so many of them all across the country, risk their lives every single day just to save somebody else's loved ones. We've seen people contribute and volunteer to neighbors that have been hit hard. We've seen Americans of all races joining together to declare, in the face of injustice and brutality at the hands of the state, that Black lives matter, no more but no less, so that no child in this country should feel the continuing sting of racism. That's true in Orlando, it's true in Florida, it's true all across this country. America is a good and decent place, but we've just seen so much noise and nonsense and distortion, and sometimes it's hard for us to remember. But Orlando, I'm asking you to remember what this country can be, what it should be, what it must be. I'm asking you to believe in Joe's ability to lead this country out of these dark times, to help us build it back better. Don't abandon those who are hurting right now. We can't abandon the kids who aren't getting the education they need right now. We can't abandon all those young people who are out on the streets who inspired us. We got to channel their activism into action. We can't just dream for a better future. We got to fight for a better future. We've got to out-hustle the other side. We've got to vote like never before and leave no doubt. So make a plan. Vote as early as you can. Grab your friends and your family. Get them to vote all the way up and down the ticket. And if we pour all our efforts into this final week, if we vote like never before, then we will elect Joe Biden, President of the United States. We'll elect Kamala Harris, Vice President of the United States. We will establish once again what this country stands for, what our values are, who we are as a people. Let's get to work, Florida. Let's bring it home. I love you, Orlando. I love you, Florida. Honk if you're fired up. Honk if you're ready to go. Are you fired up? Are you ready to go? I'm fired up. Let's go do this thing. Let's bring it home. Thank you.